Hey guys, after we do the Hawkeye review tonight, you want to also just do a regular episode of the podcast?
Oh yeah, that's like killing two birds with one phone.
Banner, I'm pretty sure that's not right. I think it's kill two birds with one stone.
Who carries stones? It's 2021.
You know, never mind.
Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching TV and movies. I'm your host, the Mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and this is our review of Hawkeye, episode 4, entitled Partners. Am I right? Thank you so much for checking us out. We do all of our television reviews using the Bro 4 Squad criteria, which is reviewing the episode on the acting, the story, our favorite scene, and then any theories or questions going forward. And tonight we have the mad scientist Brian Banner and our MCU television aficionado who has been with us on all of the series as well, the American hero Nate Thurmond. Guys, let's dive right into it. Nate, we'll let you go first. The acting and cast, and I believe outside of the appearance at the end, really just the familiar faces for this series, right? No one new.
Yeah, I think that's about it. There's obviously some names and faces that we have been waiting for that we haven't seen yet, but we'll probably get to that a little bit later. But yeah, the main one who came into the fold was Florence Pugh. Lana is back. Really exciting to see her back. Really cool scene with her near the end. Not much dialogue, not much there. Although even though I don't even think she said a line. Did she?
She didn't say a single word. Yeah.
She didn't really.
No.
Unless you count a grunt from the fighting.
Yeah. But there was one small moment, which I'll get to later, I think in plot, that was really cool and played really well. And like I said, with no words. And it was very telling. And Banner shaking his head for some reason. I don't know why, but.
It's the scene.
What?
Never mind. Go on.
You didn't like the scene?
No, I said that was the scene.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
No, yeah, I don't know where you're. Okay, anyway. But one of the old faces that's on there, Vera Farmiga, who's playing Eleanor, she's playing this role really well. They're kind of giving her the seedy background now, and she's trying to play both sides of the card. I think it's coming off really well. First 3 episodes, there wasn't much of that in there, but now she's really coming in, and you can see where the tides may be turning with her. And it's very subtle what she's doing, but it's really cool the way she's playing it off in the show.
Yeah, I think I said that. I mean, I'm a huge Vera Farmiga fan as well. I don't want to speak for anyone else on the pod, but I think we all are. And every time we've seen her character and Tony Dalton as Jack, I've been more and more interested in where they're going with it. And I think the show has done a really good job of just giving us like little nibbles of them. Because I actually think like all of the cool reveals, aside from like the one guy showing up, I believe next episode, but maybe they'll save him for the last. All of the big reveals aside from that person are going to be centered around those two characters, Eleanor and Jack. And they've done a really good job of like slowly giving us little tastes of where they're going to keep us very, very interested in the series. And it's just been a nice sort of mirror story to what's going on with Kate and Clint.
Yeah.
Banner, how about you? Who was good or bad in the cast?
So I'll just piggyback off of that a little bit. And excuse me, I don't know the actor's name. The guy that plays Jack.
Tony Dalton.
Tony Dalton. Absolute fucking sleazeball, and I absolutely fucking love it.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah, he's doing exactly what he needs to do there. Another one that I want to make sure that we give him credit where credit is due. And it's Jeremy Renner. He has such a large sample size. I think we kind of forget like how fucking great of a job he is doing. And it's hard to appreciate just how well he's doing when again, we've seen him, he's kind of old news. This is hands down his best performance in the MCU ever, I think, in this episode.
Yeah, all his angst is coming through in most of the scenes, and all his baggage he has. And you can really tell it's weighing on his character and the decisions he's having to make and what he's doing. And
he's fighting those inner demons.
Mm-hmm.
Can I give a shout out to someone too that actually now I think has a bigger part in this series than we ever would have imagined, and that's Linda Cardellini as Laura Barton. I'll get into a little bit in theories and questions, but I honestly thought off the top that her character was just going to be like, okay, I'm with the kids. We'll see at the end of the series, Clint, like whenever you come home. And of course they had her in just for continuity and because, she's always game to pop into the MCU. But her conversation with Clint in this really has me interested in, number one, the backstory of her character. And I have a pretty big theory that, Banner, I think you'll like at the end.
Yeah.
But also just sort of her involvement with the antagonist, who I think we all, I guess it's not really bearing the lead if we don't mention it now, but is Kingpin.
Yep.
I think she might have some involvement with him. And even just that scene where she speaks Russian so the kids don't know what she's saying about the Rolex. I kind of stood up in my chair and I was like, holy shit, what?
I don't know if it's important, but she was speaking German.
Oh, it was German. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we won a world war, so I didn't have to know that.
But it would make sense with the tracksuit gang and all that kind of stuff. But,
Got it.
so I don't know what her German background is, but very interesting to want to see it unfold too.
I think her grandfather was full German.
Yeah.
Grandmother was.
You ever
Irish.
works cited for that?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have the Ancestry.com printout?
It's actually 23andMe.
Damn it! I was just about to make that joke.
Not as reliable. Is that one hair or saliva?
I don't know. I haven't done either one of them.
Butt juices.
Butt juices. Okay.
That one. Right.
Well, once we start talking about butt juices, seems like a segue. You ready to move on to story and plot?
Let's get deep into this.
There's a lot here.
Story and
There's,
plot.
okay. Well.
All right. So the IMDb plot synopsis, I don't think does it justice at all, as is traditionally the case. But it says, secrets are revealed and hard truths emerge, culminating in a battle against two opposing forces. That could be written about any episode of any television show ever.
Vague.
So I kind of summarize it as Clint and Kate track down the missing Rolex from Avengers HQ, and Clint realizes Kate's family might be implicated with the tracksuit mafia. Her family, of course, being Jack and Eleanor, but he still keeps that part close to the vest and doesn't really let her in on that part yet. So basically, we have, aside from the LARPers, we have Clint and Kate tracking down the watch, and then sort of the reveal that Eleanor and Jack are definitely involved somehow with what's happening here. So, Brian, we'll go to you first. What do you think of the story and plot in episode 4?
I thought that this episode was super important for the relationship between Kate and Clint. They've been building to this where Clint is very, very reserved, doesn't want to get close to somebody else because he's obviously battling with what happened to Natasha and all of that. Kate is like, look, I just want to be your friend. She's like a lost fucking puppy. And there's obviously that scene where they kind of do Christmas tradition stuff together that really bonds them. And I think that moment and this episode is what is going to drive their characters back together moving forward towards the end. Obviously, he cut her loose at the end of this one, kind of, hey, you got to get out of here. Yeah, literally just let her fall to the ground. But I think this is what's solidifying them as a team. I mean, obviously the whole episode's called Partners, am I right? But I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying now.
Great episode title.
Yeah.
No,
Did you get lost?
Yeah, I did.
Well, one other thing, and not to focus too much just on one specific scene, but the reverence for canon in the MCU that this show has is just incredible, because the scene where Kate is dangling from the wire, which Elena strapped to her to not purposely hurt her, and Clint cuts it, it's the exact same score that plays in Endgame when Natasha unleashes or untethers the rope from Clint to get him the Soul Stone, which is a a great allegory to where like Clint's like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to lose somebody who I made a promise to. And Nate, before I let you talk, I think it's interesting in the story and plot here where I don't really know how to interpret it. I'm going to assume the worst from Eleanor, because that scene right before Clint gets on the elevator and she really advises him like, look, man, I hate to fucking throw salt on the biggest wound of your life, but like Natasha Romanoff died while you were working with her, and I don't want that to happen to my daughter. But also I think she's telling Clint, I know you're fucking onto us, and like don't let my daughter be a part of this investigation, because if she dies while you're doing this, I'll be double pissed while you're tracking us down.
Yeah, it was
she said a lot in not saying very much in what she said. Yeah,
and on top of just Marvel Easter eggs and all that kind of stuff, like what Horns was saying, like the reference to call back to other things with Clint cutting Kate loose on the rooftop was great. This is a small thing I want to throw in there. It's kind of funny because when Elena is on the rooftop, she does the funny 3-point stance that she made fun of Natasha for in Black Widow. I was like, nice. Okay, that's awesome.
She's like, why do you always land like this?
And then she goes ahead and does it herself. But
she's like disgusted with herself.
Yeah. Overall, I thought this was a really great episode, really important, like Banner was saying, to the series. Interesting character dynamics. This is showing to be pretty relationship driven as a plot. And it's kind of cool seeing all the relationships and going hot and cold, having a bunch of tension and then levity. Like the opening scene, they're sitting around a table, really tense. But there was some levity thrown in there. But then after Clint leaves, they're cracking jokes at Jack for messing up common sayings and things like that, even though there is that underlying tension between everyone, because no one really trusts anyone at this point.
Nate, can I interject real quick? Yeah. An analogy that I think you'll appreciate. That scene at the table at Jack and Eleanor's penthouse was like a poor man's bar scene from Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of fake joking around with each other, but really, no one fucking trusts the person across the table from him. Again, nowhere on the level and tension that Tarantino had in that scene, but sort of like almost like an homage to it, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And they even go on the nose with some of that, because Eleanor says, I guess I have to trust everyone at this table. And no one trusts anyone at that table. Right. It goes around. But some of the other things, there's some big developments. All the characters are really coming in and being prominent pieces in the plot now, other than the one that we haven't seen. We're hoping Kingpin shows up, which pretty sure he will. But everyone's becoming really relevant. Everyone is playing a role. It's all tying together now. And then one of the last things I'll throw in there was another callback on the rooftop as well, which is really cool. When Kate had the shot at Elena, didn't take it. Kind of calls back to another point in the episode, which I think we'll get to later.
Yeah. And I said this last week, but I think it's worth reiterating. I think the reason the MCU is still working after 13 plus years, and the reason that people are still interested in it is because Kevin Feige has his finger on the pulse of fans, where like we have to have disparity in the types of stories we're telling, because they can't all be big, huge, like universe shattering events. The fact that we went from Loki, which literally split open the multiverse, to Hawkeye, which is literally just like one guy trying to get his fucking outfit back. It's great because like we need these smaller stories, and I think introducing Kingpin is going to give them a great canvas to paint them on, because he is the biggest street level villain. But he's still so fucking interesting. Like you can plug him in to all these different. He really is tied in with a lot of heroes. Yeah, heroes in the Marvel universe. But all he's trying to do is just fucking run the criminal underworld. So, like, the great thing about Kingpin, and I think what makes his character really cool, is he knows the second that an Avenger or someone with superpowers shows up, he's fucked. So he's trying to keep his operation as secretive and off the books as possible. and it makes for just a really fun dynamic and like another part of the Marvel universe that the movies might never get to explore, but I think these shows are a perfect ground to do that in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it kind of parallels with Star Wars world as well, like with the series that they're coming out with now, especially Clone Wars and Rebels and all that kind of stuff, really digging into some of the minutia, although there's, not to get off on a tangent, but a ton of big stuff that happens in Clone Wars and stuff like that. But I agree with the Marvel universe. This is kind of parallel in the same thing and getting into some good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, are we ready for our best scene?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, Nate, lead us off. What was your favorite scene in the episode?
So this was kind of an extended scene, and there were actually kind of different pockets of the scene that you could break down and say they had different impacts and kind of different emotions across the whole across that whole scene. But the apartment scene, really right when Kate gets there, it's kind of trying to cement in their relationship that's growing. Because she's seen it as a friendship. Clint is still kind of trying to avoid it, obviously, with the opening scene saying we're not really friends, blah, blah, blah. But then get a couple alcoholic slushies in you, get some Christmas movies in the DVD player, and hell, you're going to be best friends next thing you know. So that was a cool buddy cop moment. I always like those, and montagey feel of them just growing together and getting a better feel of each other. And it was funny seeing Kate really like nerd out and be like, all right, we got the plan, here we go, we're gonna do all this. So that was a really feel good moment, feel good scene.
When he was teaching her how to flip the coin too, just really cool moment. Like when she finally got it, like I felt like I was just excited for her as she was excited for her.
Yeah, you could really feel it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was mine too. I just wrote down the Christmas movie marathon.
Yeah.
No, I mean it was kind of the highlight of the episode, and I think a couple things about that. First off, Clint icing all of his wounds with those like mixed drinks, and then and then being like, you know what, let's just actually fucking drink these.
Yeah,
it was pretty great. The Thanos was right mug that he was drinking out of.
Yes. Oh, I forgot I had that written down here. Yeah, that was like
incredible.
Huh, interesting.
And again, these are like smaller character moments that just make the MCU so great. Like the big like culmination moments where all the fucking heroes come together are so cool because we have these moments with the characters. This is why we give a shit about them, right? Like when Ant-Man comes out of the rubble in Avengers Endgame and drops Hulk and War Machine and Rocket out of his hands, you don't give a shit about that moment so much because it's like, oh, this dude just went giant. You care about it because we know about Scott and Cassie's relationship. We know about Rhodey and Tony's relationship. We know the shit Banner's gone through with Betty Ross and Natasha, and we know all the pain that Rocket has. So that's what's cool when they're all together. Same thing with Hawkeye. Like them taking the time to delve into his character, and the like him telling the story of Natasha again was incredible.
That was my best scene. Is I kind of shortened it, and him saying, you know, what's your best shot? The one I didn't take. That scene and that line just gave me goosebumps. And that, again, him opening up to Kate, I felt was so important for their partnership and him passing the torch to her.
And when Kate hears that story, you could tell she's like, I can tell that's something you don't tell everybody. And she kind of appreciates it. And also, last thing, I don't know, I am such a sucker for this gag, and it's been done a million times, and I always think it's funny.
I think I know you're going to say that.
When someone is writing like on dry erase and it ends up being with a Sharpie, that's always funny to me, which Kate did obviously on like the frame of the movie poster.
Yeah. I will never scoff at that. Yeah.
The best is like she just moves the tree in front of it. See? Problem solved. Clint's like, yeah, now we're problem solving.
I just think of like Horrible Bosses 2 did it effectively. Like every time I see it, I laugh. I don't know. It's just like, it's so like low brow and such a cheap gag, but it's a trope because it fucking works and it's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole thing with both of those scenes, basically the beginning and then when he does open up and everything, that's kind of true to just relationships in real life. Like those are your truest friends. Those are the people you're closest with, the ones you can crack up, you can bullshit with, you can have a good time, but then you're also going to open up to them and let them know the inside of you. So it got both dynamics. It got the levity and the seriousness. So really worked well together.
Yeah, and that's what a real like friendship or
Yeah.
relationship is. And also that movie, or excuse me, that scene just made me want to like put on Christmas movies and fucking have a cocktail, you know?
Watched Christmas Vacation last night, so
Yeah, there you go.
pop that one on.
A lot of sap.
I'll just say a little full.
Little full.
A lot of sap.
All right, anything else? We're ready to move on to my favorite part, the theories and questions.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, I have 4 things total. Do you want to just go round robin?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
I got about 3 or 4. Yeah.
Okay, and I apologize. This first one is, I think, one of the main questions I have from the episode, so you guys might have it too, so I apologize if it's redundant. But who did Eleanor call on the phone right when Clint leaves? You know, where she's like asking for a favor.
I've got
And
it. Yeah.
my question, I think, is probably the bigger question. So I think we can all make the assertion that Jack Duquesne is involved with the Tracksuit Mafia, and Eleanor is involved with some shady shit as well. So this is a 2-parter. Who did Eleanor call? And is she working with Jack, or are they both just pieces of shit that happen to be working separately, maybe unaware of the other one? Ben, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, go
Sorry,
for it.
you-
No, that's fine.
I think that Eleanor called. Okay, who I think she called and who I want her to call are 2 different people.
For me, they're the same.
Who I want her to call is Madam Hydra.
Okay,
Who-
Val, very
yeah.
possible.
Who I think she called was Kingpin. And I think she is working independently of Jack, unaware that he is so involved with the Tracksuit Mafia. Maybe she knows that he's involved somehow, but maybe not as deep as he actually is.
Or maybe Kingpin, like unbeknownst to each of them, set them up. So that he
Possibly.
could keep an eye on both of them.
Very possible.
Yep. Yes, that was what I had written down as well. I'm sure a lot of our theories and questions are going to cross over, but Val is who I think she called, and she ultimately called. It's a little,
And that's
it's
the hit on Clint, right?
yes, it's
Okay.
a little weird with the timeline with that coming out and blah blah blah, just where it came in with the episodes. But I mean, they squeeze things into the timeline all over the place.
Well, the post-credit scene to Black Widow, you know, Marvel gets kind of a little bit of a benefit of the doubt with those,
Yeah.
because the post-credit scenes, I think we can all assume, could take place at any
Yeah.
point in the time.
So yeah, that was ultimately the call in the Val, and then she got with Ilana, and it all makes sense because it's this episode where they had the big fight scene. She came into the episode.
right.
She
Yeah.
tried to make good on the hit that just got called in, so it lines up. But then that kind of shoehorns into my next. It's really a question because I have no idea, but just the villain hierarchy here, like who's working with who, like Madam Hydra, where's she in the thing with Jack, Kingpin, and Echo, because I think they may all be stacked on top of each other in some way.
Well, I was wondering if Eleanor is just working with Madam Hydra,
Mhm.
and then Jack maybe is just working with Kingpin. But maybe
Okay.
Jack knows about, I don't know, like who has the upper hand between Jack and Eleanor amongst one another, right? I think we can both assume the sex may be great, but they're not really in love, right? Like one of them has to be using the other one for.
Yeah, it's for money.
right.
I think I've changed my complete stance in the last 30 seconds.
Wow.
I
Go ahead.
agree.
Go ahead.
I think that Eleanor is working for Val, Madam Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are completely separate. They're their own thing. Then going from the top down, I think we have Kingpin at the top. Then I think next we have Echo. Then next we have Jack, who's maybe on the same level as Kazi. But Jack has been told or recruited by or voluntold by Kingpin, get close to Eleanor because we need access to her security business.
So could you see Kingpin and Val as like rivals?
I could see them as frenemies.
Okay.
Yeah. As you were explaining that, it made a lot of sense, and I'm going to jump on board with that. I think, yeah, Val, Eleanor, kind of one thing on one side. I'm not sure about the hierarchy on the other side, but yeah, I do think Kingpin, Jack, and Echo are all together somehow. But I don't know if Echo knows Jack is involved in the same silo as them.
Well, let me ask you this, and in the spirit of Banner, this just came to me. So Val, we've seen setting up like maybe a version of the Thunderbolts. Like General Ross might still get involved, but basically like the anti-hero Avengers, where it's like every character here is deplorable at times, but then also sort of sympathetic at times. Now, what if she recruits Echo for that group as well, and maybe that's where they go with the Echo and Disney Plus show?
Yeah.
Bring Russell Wyatt and Florence Pugh into the same show with that.
And then Thaddeus Ross can come in as, or even Abomination, who was teased, obviously, and Shang-Chi as being released.
Can Russell and Pugh hook up in the show?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say no.
Get a few.
I think they make a good-looking baby.
Definitely. All right, who's up?
I'll throw something in there. I'm leaving one to the end because I think it's going to cross over with you, Horns. But I mean, the big question in this, the Rolex, who does it belong to?
That was my next one. Yeah.
Oh, well then.
And what is
a lot of ours cross over, huh?
And what is it, right?
Yeah, first there's a tracking beacon on it somehow. I think there's a slight possibility that it's Nick Fury's. Could bring in him at some point since he's still working with the Skrulls. Or my long shot, just throwing shit against the wall just because I've been wanting this for a while. It's going to tie into Steve Rogers. That is somehow his. It was tracking, and that ties into being able to track him and getting an old Steve Rogers into a Marvel series.
Interesting.
I know we're really gung ho on this, and Falcon and Winter Soldier didn't play out. Was hoping he was going to come in with some sage advice for the new Captain America. So I'll still hold on to my long shots and say that we're going to get an old Steve Rogers, and that's somehow tracking his whereabouts.
I thought for a second, just because it was like a wrist apparatus, that it might have been like an extra version of the time travel watches they had in the game.
That's what I thought too.
And obviously you would need to keep that out of the wrong hands.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
But I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm very, very interested. And the fact that Laura knew about it kind of ruins my like. Why would she specifically? I mean, maybe Clint could have told her, but like she was snapped away. So, like, because she seems to have a vested interest in it almost more than he does to get it back.
Unless it was from before the blip.
Right. In that case, and my theory doesn't make sense because why would they have the pin particle time travel replace it before
right.
the blip? Banner, what do you got?
So I think I'm just going to kind of move along to the next episode. I still think we may see at least a cameo of a Daredevil or a reference of Daredevil. At least
Daredevil or Matt Murdock?
Matt Murdock, I guess.
Okay. Because I think we have a better chance of seeing just Matt Murdock than we do Daredevil.
At least just a reference. I mean, I know he's coming in at some point. And I think that...
He's coming in next Friday when Spider-Man No Way Home comes out. But
true. But is he going to show up Wednesday before that?
Ah, good point.
Wow, what timing?
That would
because
be
we know Disney has a track record of this, and Marvel does too. Marvel did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right along with Winter Soldier.
Which was so cool.
They really tied together, which now is, I mean, it feels a little deflated just because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not part of the MCU anymore. But either way, they still crossed over very, very well. And we know that Mandalorian with Grogu being able, spoilers for Mandalorian here, skip ahead 30 seconds, Grogu all of a sudden could heal creatures using the Force, and then literally 4 days later we saw that in Rise of Skywalker. So we know that the studios and the powers that be are thinking about these things, the shows and the movies, how they tie in. So I think that's a good possibility. I think the next episode is going to be 50% Yelena finding out and confronting Clint and Kate, and 50% of us getting the clear picture of what the bad guys are. kind of clearing up that hierarchy that you were talking about, Nate, setting up the epic stakes of, is Clint going to get home for Christmas in the last episode?
So this isn't even one of the ones I had written down. This is sort of just a question I want to pose. Do you think, so is Kingpin going to be a part of the last 2 episodes, or will he be like the big bad reveal at the end? Because I would bet my life he is showing up in this in some capacity. Just originally I thought he would actually be a part of the plot, like being seen. But now I'm starting to wonder if he's not just going to be like the shadowy figure who we only get to see him for like maybe a scene at the very end. Nate, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be kind of a scene at the end. They kind of went along with that same feel whenever they showed him earlier, just touching Echo or Maya's cheek. Everyone knows who it is at this point. I don't think they need that big reveal. I think they're just going to kind of hang on. I think he's going to show up in episode 6.
Do you think we'll get much dialogue with him, or will it be sort of like one of the last scenes of the episode where it's like maybe he swivels around in a chair or something?
I think there will be a little dialogue, but I mean, yeah, that wouldn't be a bad. I mean, I wouldn't be too mad at that if it's just the end reveal, like I was going to say Kingpin behind it all. That's just that's his name.
Why it's called that, you know?
Oh, weird. But yeah, the head honcho behind it all, just revealing it at the end. But more than that, yeah, I want Val to come back. I want to see her back in this.
I know.
show.
I want to see her and D'Onofrio in a scene together.
Yeah.
Really fun.
I can see Kingpin playing a very similar role that Jonathan Majors Kang did in Loki, where we're not going to get him, but we're going to get some significant screen time in the last episode.
Okay.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I have 2 theories. Do you guys have anything else?
Lay it on me.
No, I have one, but I think it's a crossover with yours. It has to do with Laura.
Yes. So I'll start with my Laura one first.
Okay.
So Banner, you will understand this reference, and this actually ties. It's almost like we planned this, but I swear to God we did not. Tying into how MCU canon has erased, much to our chagrin, but we understand it, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. from the canon. So that's why this theory makes sense. What if Laura Barton in the MCU actually used to be Mockingbird?
Yep. I saw a thing I just saw a headline online about this. I didn't actually read it, but
yeah, I'm not gonna act like I came up with this. I and wanted to steal it. So
I absolutely would love this, and it all makes sense. You don't even tell me your theory. Let me guess it. Okay. We know
that I was about to say. I think that's just it.
Well, okay. Let me tell you why your theory is right and why it can work. How about that?
Okay, perfect.
So we know that Fury set up the farm for Clint.
Yes.
Why could he have not set it up for Clint and Laura? Maybe they accidentally got pregnant, or they had planned this. She wanted out of the game. He wasn't ready. Yeah. And Sam Jackson was like, hey, I got this little property out south. You guys want it?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Also, Hawkeye.
It makes total sense. They're all spies.
Yeah, because how else would Hawkeye meet someone? Like, he's not on Coffee Meets Bagel. He's not going to speed dating. They met as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Archersonly.com.
Archers only.
There's 4 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, whenever you were saying that earlier, I was like, I think I know where Horns is going with this. I'll plagiarize as well, because I think I saw this theory online somewhere and leached onto it. But then it really ties in as well if she's an ex S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, with the Rolex potentially being Fury's as well. So that's why she has such a good beacon on it. That's why she was able to give Clint that information, because she already has that tie-in being an ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. So she's had interaction with Fury. She knows his whereabouts, and obviously has an eye on that watch.
All right, let's continue to use teamwork. This is not my last theory. This is something I just thought of as Nate has been posing the idea that the watch could be Fury's. What if the watch actually ties into Secret Invasion, which is one of the upcoming Marvel TV properties, and it's Fury's because it's a way to contact the Skrulls?
There we go.
So what this will be let's say it continues to come up moving forward. That'll be four of 6 episodes that it came up in this show, setting up the next show.
Yeah, because if it was in the original episode too, right? It was one of the things at the auction.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the tracksuits were breaking in. I think that was the line, "Hey, find the watch," or something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, like I think they were about to bid on it when they like crashed.
Yeah.
through the wall, if I remember right.
Yes.
Okay, my last theory. Again, I stole this as well, but it has to be discussed here.
We don't steal on this show. We strategically acquire.
Exactly.
Borrow.
So much. Yeah. Borrow for eternity.
I'll give it back.
So every Archer in the MCU needs their Black Widow sidekick. And what better analogy or allegory to when Clint should have taken the shot at Natasha, but he chose not to. Kate had a similar scene up on the rooftop with Yelena, who shook her head. And now I am so fucking needing a Kate Bishop and Yelena Belova buddy cop series or movie.
Oh yeah.
Like give me a Disney Plus original movie of that, hour and a half, real short and sweet, almost like an MCU, like a Hallmark version of an MCU movie.
Just put them together. Take my money now. I think both of their characters had so much charisma. Putting them together on screen would be incredible.
Yeah.
It's not a want at this point. It's a need.
Yeah,
So,
I won't be able to sleep until we have it now.
Yeah, Kate and Yelena. I don't know what the age difference is between them in the MCU, at least. I know in real life they're very close in age.
I'd say Yelena's maybe a little bit older.
Yeah, I would say. So
maybe.
we know Kate is 22.
Well,
22,
Florence Pugh in real life is 25. And let me look it up right now. Haley Steinfeld is 25.
Ooh.
Oh.
Besties.
Like a match made in heaven.
So, in fact, I think they're actually 12 days apart. Let me look at their birthdays here.
Match made in my fantasies.
Yes. And again, like just characters that have just such great personalities that would work incredibly together. And I think maybe we'll get a little bit of their interaction. Oh, no, they are about 35 days apart.
Oh, it's ruined now.
Wow.
Yep.
Disgusting.
Yeah, but
I don't want the movie anymore.
Yeah, like we called that earlier. Yeah, that shot that she didn't take. I mean, that was just like, yeah, the perfect setup. Like, okay, there it is.
That also, I think, goes and reinforces how important that bonding scene was.
Yeah.
That Clint had told her that story, like, hey, it's all about the choices that you make, and it's the shot that I didn't take. I think that if she hadn't heard that story, she'd have let that arrow fly right through her eyes.
Yeah, and I think I forgot to mention this, but whenever we were talking about Pew coming in and like, oh, no dialogue or anything, it's like, we'll get to it later. But yeah, she said no words, but she looked at her, did a subtle shake of the head, but like there was so much in that, and no words were spoken.
And Yelena like immediately repays the favor because when she flips Kate off the roof, before that she hooks the rope onto her to make sure that she's not just going to fall to her death.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yelena has a clear target, and Kate is not it.
Well done.
I will say I'm really interested next episode because we're going to get some Yelena dialogue. How she explains her coming to kill Clint, because she's a very smart person, and I would have a feeling she would know about Natasha and Clint's backstory. So it seems like a little hollow to me that Val just gives her some fucking story off the cuff about how Clint's responsible for Natasha's death. And she just says, oh, well, then I have to murder him. Like, come on, Val is not the most trustworthy person. Like, do a little bit of legwork before we just start, trying to throw people off rooftops.
Do we know if Yelena disappeared in the blip or not?
I don't know.
I don't think we do, because obviously Black Widow takes place before Infinity War.
Right. But then the end credit scene is obviously after Infinity War.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, correct me if I'm wrong, the end credit scene prior to Hawkeye is the only time we have seen Yelena after the snap, right? She hasn't been anything else?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, man. No, we just opened a whole new can of worms to think of that.
Yeah. My head hurts. hurts. But yeah, I don't think we know. Maybe she'll mention it next episode. Maybe we won't have to wait too long.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thing you guys have before we let the people go?
That's all I got.
Yeah, I think she did blip away.
That's just
Because-
your
Just a
theory
hunch?
now, just a random theory.
Yeah, no, I think she did blip away because I think that all of the heartache and everything that Natasha had in Endgame, she would have had a little bit less because she had her quote unquote sister with her. And if her sister blipped away as well, not only did she lose, she lost her family, she lost her family. She blipped away.
It would make it easier for Marvel to explain Yelena not even being asked to help with the events of Endgame.
Right.
Yeah, it would.
And her being surprised. I don't know if she was surprised at the end of Black Widow in the end credit scene, but her not necessarily knowing that she had passed away until she came back.
Well, and also I think Natasha would have done it anyway, but it would have given her heightened stakes and a bigger, similar motivation to Clint to want to bring everyone back.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have.
Good shit. All right, for the American hero Nate Thurman and the mad scientist Brian Banner, I'm the mayor Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. We'll catch you next week for episode 5, the penultimate episode, Nate and mine's favorite word, of the Hawkeye series. Follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, you'll find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts. Check out everything we do on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we have to go watch It's a Wonderful Life and drink really shitty frozen margaritas.
There's no such thing as a shitty frozen margarita.
Yeah, it's true.
Those were just the mixes, right? They still had to add the alcohol.
I think you can buy them with the alcohol.
Is there alcohol in them?
This isn't the 20s.
This isn't prohibition.
We're not needing to bootleg this shit.